carry the properties, to pay the mortgages, and we were just starting to max out, and we're like, we can't do this anymore. So I talked to another Florida investor, and he introduced me to a concept called the strategic default. And it's not for everybody. It was a really tough decision, but the idea here is that you purposefully stop paying the mortgage, and that conflicted with my long-held financial.
Hello, everyone. We're Jacqueline and Melvin Landry, and we welcome you to our podcast, Get Diversified. Throughout these series, we'll cover all the topics and questions you have about investing in apartment buildings, storage facilities, and mobile home parks. Being knowledgeable in these areas will help you feel more comfortable about investing. Apartment investing equals building wealth. Building wealth equals financial freedom. Achieving financial freedom allows you to spend your time with building memories with your loved ones. Let's face it, time is the one element in life that is limited, and you don't want to waste it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Get Diversified. I am here with Donna Hooks today. Super excited to have her on our show. My name is Jacqueline Landry, in case you don't know who I am. I am the co-founder or co-author of Real Women in Real Estate. And guess what? So is Donna. So Donna has a chapter in this book called Harnessing the Power of Debt. And let me tell you, folks, when I read her chapter, my mouth dropped. And then after it dropped, I had to read it to my husband, and his mouth dropped. And he asked me a whole bunch of questions, and I'm going to ask Donna those questions here today. So super excited to have you again, Donna. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Jacqueline. I'm really happy to be here and so excited that we got to meet on the book launch of Real Women in Real Estate. It's just been
that was really fascinating. So for the viewers that don't know, there was 27 women that tell their real estate story in this book. And everybody's at different levels. And everybody has a different message to share in their book. So if you haven't picked one up, it's available on Amazon. Go pick it up because you'll cry. So I cried. I shed a few tears on certain chapters. I laughed. I was inspired. I think all of those, sometimes all three of those in the same chapter. So really encourage everybody to go out there if they're interested in real estate and listen to all of the women in this book. So Donna, I want to talk to you today in this podcast about your story in the book. So harnessing the power of debt. So why don't we just start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, sure. So I've been a real estate investor since late 2004, early 2005. And we got involved in single family homes through a third party, a partner that we had. I'll call this person our guru partner because they were connected to Robert Kiyosaki of the famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I had some stock options from work, so I really wanted to get into real estate. So I hired a tax strategist, and they encouraged us to open self-directed IRAs, my husband and I, and then we were able to take an opportunity. We had an opportunity to invest with this guru. And so we did, and the promise was that he would give us a 15% ROI for our down payment. And on top of it, he would do all of the management. So paying all the bills, all the fees, everything. And so we thought this was a wonderful opportunity. We were excited to be investors. So we went all in on this partnership. And we put down, he had actually hired another person, a real estate broker, to assist because he was, one state, the properties were in another state. So we were in a third state. So it was just a real national event here. So he hired this property broker, and she found properties. We put $5,000 down each, so a total of $35,000 to secure these 5 properties, and then we mortgaged the rest.
Okay. That's not
Yeah.
too bad of a price.
No, it was a pretty good price, and we were super excited about our foray into real estate. Um, Come to find out, well, a lot of you may know about or have heard about or experienced the 2008 market crash, the subprime loan crash. Yeah, you too. And
My husband did prior to us getting married.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. Because not only were we invested with this guru, but we ended up partnering with the broker that he had. So that was partner number one was the guru. The broker was number two. We also had a third partner where we had purchased land in Florida, and we were going to develop properties there. And so they all converged around 2008, and just, the duty hit the fan. Let's just say it like that.
Nice words.
Yeah, it was a challenging time at best.
So talk about the challenges and why you think the challenges happened.
Okay, so with the guru partner, excuse me, he couldn't afford to pay the mortgages. So remember, he was paying all of the mortgages, and he couldn't afford to. So we get the surprise call from Bank of America, and they're saying your mortgages are late. And we're like, what mortgages? We don't have any mortgages with Bank of America. Well, apparently, because he was handling the mortgages, all the paperwork was going there. And when they assumed our mortgage company, which was countrywide, they assumed it into Bank of America. That's who was servicing our loan. And so then we found out, because, they started mentioning addresses. We're like, oh, yeah, we do have a loan with you. It was kind of a surprise. So, we had to address the fact that, our guru partner was paying our mortgages late. It was impacting my credit. And, after a couple of months, I was just getting frustrated. So I, had a conversation with him. And 2 days later, I'm sitting at work, and he calls up and says, you know what? I'm done. Goodbye. I'm like, what? He's like, no, these properties are yours now. 5 more mortgages in one day. Goodbye. And he hangs up the phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you do at that point? Did you cry? Did you scream? What did you do?
The crazy story is that I had just finished a short sale on one of the properties I had in Florida. And so that meant I, sold the property for a loss and gave it back to the bank. And it was like, I just couldn't believe what was happening. Like, I was in shock, I'm like 24 hours. I'm just finished with the short sale. I'm like breathing a little bit better. And then I get this news, and I'm like ready to cry.
I would have.
And I called my husband, and I'm like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. And so we just really had to have some serious conversations about what to do. We're like, do we figure this out? Do we just let go of all the properties? And, we're just kind of figure it out people. We'll just get it done. And so.
Now, were you working at the time? Were you working like a W-2 or anything?
Yes, the whole time. I'm still working a W-2.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a difficult time. So anyway, my husband decided he's handy, so he drove out to Indiana, where the properties are. We live in New Jersey, and 2 of the properties had been rented. The strategy was lease option. The tenants were supposed to, pay into buying the house. That strategy never worked.
So did they not make the payments?
They made the payments. The challenge was one of them just left, moved, and the other one is actually still there almost 19 years later, and they just never had the money to buy the house. Their credit wasn't good. So.
Wow. With that lease option, my husband's done a few of those. It was before, me and him getting together. And he did his lease option a little bit different. So he required like a small amount down.
Okay.
And, $500 a month for 15 years. And then the house gets automatically quick claim to them. He took care of any expenses on, or anything major that broke in the first year, and all the other expenses and maintenance were on the tenant. And he actually just quick claimed one deed over, I think, in the last few months. So his was a little bit different, right? It wasn't come up with a big lump sum at the end. It was, pay me a little bit up front, a little more than what your rent is. And then, give me cash flow for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
That's what she did. So anyway, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to tell you that, different, let the viewers know that, lease options can work a ton of different ways.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And these tenants that are still there, they take very good care of the house. She's into gardening. It's like a beautiful yard. She's fixed up the house. Only the big things do they require us to pay.
Okay.
So they're really good tenants. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out.
So they're still paying you rent.
Yeah, they are still paying this rent, and
all right, awesome. So that was two of the houses that you decided to.
Oh, right. So yeah, my husband went out to fix the remaining three houses that were not there, and one of the things we learned was that in the contract that our guru partner had, there were zero provisions for repairs. So he had actually been paying us, our ROI, even though only 2 of the 5 properties were rented, which, doesn't really make sense. He was not, apparently, his management skills weren't quite up to snuff, because he could have been collecting rent the whole time.
Yeah, I was going to say, where did he get the money from?
Was therapeutic, because I got to rethink about these things. Like, why in the world would he do that?
Maybe to make you think that all of them were rented, or did you not? Did you know all of them weren't rented?
Yeah, we knew.
Yeah,
and so anyway, my husband went out there. He fixed two of the 3 houses. The third house actually had water running in it for nearly an entire year. So it was destroyed. And, I don't understand why the broker partner did nothing, or the property man. Well, it was a month to month, so the property manager wasn't really even involved then. But they wouldn't take on the properties until they were fixed up. So my husband fixed up 2 of the houses. We were able to get them rented. We filed an insurance claim with the third. Now, during this time, we also made a deal with our second partner, who was this broker from Indiana. And again, I didn't do all the proper due diligence back then. I can tell you, it's much more expensive to hire a lawyer to fix a problem than to prevent a problem. So I want to encourage everybody here to go out and get their attorney reviews. But we made a deal with another partner, the broker, and bought 2 more houses. One was a cute little house that we paid $15,000 for. That was it. We bought it outright. And there was a second property that we put down maybe $17,000 and mortgaged $75,000. And so, but the problem was, she was supposed to be the operations manager, but this time I was paying the mortgage. I was keeping close eye. But therein, it turns out that our broker partner was broke. She didn't have the funds to do everything. And on top of it, she wasn't a great salesperson to get it rented. So she only rented to friends and family. And when that didn't work out, she ended up herself moving into the property, allowing me to graciously pay the mortgage while she's living there scot-free, And,
wow.
So I was still very green in real estate at the time, and it took me a while to get my head out of the sand, but in time, I realized like one of the very important things you have to do early on is to run your real estate as a business. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's your money, it's your investment, it's your property, and you want it to cash flow. So,
Yeah, well, we actually just to add a little story in there, we were looking at a 3 unit. And there was this very nice man paying $440 in rent with all utilities a month, and I said I would love to keep him, but the reality is this is a business. And we need to cash flow. We don't need to become super rich off this one property and just make it so unaffordable that people can't live. However, this, had we, purchased this property, that, the guy would have had to go because the numbers just didn't make sense. You need to make money when you buy a building because there's work involved. So we all out in this for making money, right? And achieving that financial freedom and generational wealth, right? If not, why do it?
that's exactly right. We have one property in New Jersey, and we're going back and forth because our tenant there is struggling, and we want her out, and then my husband's like, it's much easier to get it fixed up and rented in the spring. Let's see what we can do. It's just a timing issue. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, she's behind on rent. So we gave her a 30-day notice to leave. But, we're also trying to work out a strategic plan with her, at least for a couple more months.
Yeah. And that's the hard part when you buy smaller, right? So, we own large buildings, part ownership in large buildings. So if, 5 or 6 or 7 people vacate for some reason or another, it's fine. But when you have a 4-unit, as an example, one person leaves, that's 25% of your rental income that's not there anymore. so the risk that you have when doing that, but.
And I just actually posted on my Facebook page. So I have a group called Hook Up with Real Estate, and I was just talking about how expensive vacancies are. And we had 2 vacancies in November, and back to back, so within 30 days of each other. And so even though you have a reserve, we had a reserve of money, but because of the timing of the 2 vacancies, single family, it eats into the reserve. So you absolutely have to have another credit source to be able to tap into.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So that was the second partner that.
Yeah. So the second partner,
the second partner was broke.
She was broke, so I ended up buying her out of the partnership. So we completely owned the 2 houses, got our property manager to get them rented. But the thing was, we knew she liked that property that had the water running into it. So I offered, because now she had money, I bought her out, to sell her this property on a contract for deed, so she could take over the property. And she said, all right, well, if you give me the insurance money, I'll do it. And so we agreed. And what she did was, she lived there. She paid the mortgage for about 2 years. And the contract for deed, as the owner, I'm holding the mortgage until she has it paid off. And I'm watching, and all of a sudden she stops paying. So here again, I'm like, this is my mortgage. I'm going to end up paying the mortgage and let her live there again. But by all rights, we were able to ask her to leave because she wasn't paying. She was defaulting on the loan, and she wouldn't leave.
That's a problem as well, right? You have lawyer expenses. You got to figure out how to get them out, and they can fight. And depending on what state you live in, right, it could take 45 days or it could take a year to get somebody out. So that sucks. So how did you get her out?
Yeah, by the grace of God. One day, it's kind of a funny story because I started my latest job as a consultant, and on the day that they were making me a full-time offer, I'd walked out to my car to talk to the HR rep, And then as I was walking in, I get a call from my attorney. He's like, "You're not going to believe this." I'm like, "What is it?" And so he said that our broker partner called him, and she rattled on for about half an hour before he's like, "Well, is there a point here?" And she finally told him that she was ready to give us the property back. So it was like, thank God.
Wow. So what did you do with that? Did you fix it and sell it or lease it?
Well, what happened was we went to the title company, and it turned out that she had signed the contract for deed illegally.
How do you do that?
The contract said that the property would be unencumbered, meaning there were no liens that would be put on the property. Well, the minute she signed it and had her name on the deed, there were 7 liens that she had with 5 different lawyers that went forward onto our property. So here I am at work on my lunch hour, like contacting these lawyers, trying to negotiate, offering them 10% on the dollar, and most of them took it. But it took a few months to be able to get a free and clear title on my mortgage. Yeah, it was very interesting. I remember
viewers, if you don't know yet, this is one strong lady, because I would have crashed and burned and never looked back at real estate again.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I just didn't feel like I had a choice. I'm like, I got to get this done. And I went on a mission. I'm like, let's get it done.
Wow.
And yeah. And so fortunately, when it was done, I called my attorney, and he was like in shock. He's like, "How the heck did you get that done? Because I don't know anybody who would have done that." I'm like,
that's great.
Again, I didn't feel like I had a choice. So
yeah, I mean, you need those liens taken off.
Yeah, exactly. So I could sell the property, because otherwise what happened was, when I sold on contract for deed, I did not inform the bank, which was a mistake, right? So, they could have called my loan. And so to prevent that, I had to do the lien negotiations. And so then the next surprise happened when we actually went out to visit the property. She gutted the entire house. We stood in the door and looked at the sea of studs. We're like, what the heck is going on here?
So do you think she was going to fix it and then realize that she didn't have the time and effort to fix it, or she just didn't want to be bothered with it? What do you think she was trying to do?
I think she had the best intentions, and she was under the impression she would be getting some money from a settlement that just never happened. So, from that perspective, I understand she had big dreams, but it just didn't work out. And so my husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, this is too big for us. We're living in 11 hours away. We can't deal with this. So we ended up just selling it.
Did you make a profit on that, or was that another loss?
Another loss. Yeah. So, I was crying in my soup again, because it's like, here I wanted to be in real estate to get financial freedom for my family, and all of a sudden, everything's just going downhill.
So Donna, from the first partner to the second one, how many years passed? Was it like 2-3 years?
No, it was about. She was involved from the beginning because Guru Partner hired her, but it was about a 10-year period when she left the house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Long time. Okay. So any more horror stories?
Oh, yeah. They don't end.
Oh, my gosh.
So we had a third partner in Florida, and, I'm not sure what motivated me to involve a well-connected partner. Apparently she was from Canada, her and her husband, and they were well-connected in Florida at the time when Florida, especially the West Coast, was booming. And again, right around that right before 2008 crash. And so she had made arrangements with several people, including my sister, that, if we put down the capital, that she would help pay the mortgage. Well, it turns out they overpromised too many people and just decided to walk away. And so
Wow.
she just called and said, I'm done. So now we had this land, and the interesting thing was the town where it was, they kept claiming it was wetlands, so we weren't allowed to build on the property, but the property was never wetlands. But in a way, it was like a saving grace, because we did not build a house that would have, dropped in value. The second property, we did build a house, and it was, it was a nice house, but during that time frame, it dropped in value $180,000. And there was no renter in that area that, it just didn't cash flow the way we had anticipated.
Wow.
So, the rent we could collect was about half of what we needed. And so we were using debt. We were using our home equity line of credit to carry the properties, to pay the mortgages, and we were just starting to max out. And we're like, we can't do this anymore. So I talked to another Florida investor, and he introduced me to a concept called the strategic default. And it's not for everybody. It was a really tough decision, but the idea here is that you purposefully stop paying the mortgage, and that conflicted with my long-held financial responsibility, right? I am not that person. I'm trying to, be responsible and pay all my debt. But I did try to do a short sale on this property as well, and I got rejected by the bank after 2 years. So, my throat fell into my stomach when it was just like one line, rejected. And I didn't know what to do. So that's when I decided, I made the tough decision, and I have to stop paying, because, it's just too much for us.
Yeah, and that's interesting to me. I've heard that before, is you have to stop paying for the bank to negotiate with you. And it's like, what? Why don't you have good faith on both sides and start the negotiations and still get your money in, or get lesser of a payment in or something? But yeah, I've heard that before, and I'm as you were, right? I'm somebody that pays my bills on time. I'm not going to do anything that's illegal, or or against what my values are. So I don't know why they do that, but I guess they do.
And there was no explanation as to why they rejected me, because they had already done a short sale on a prior property. Well, I ended up having to hire an attorney, and he found out it wasn't the bank, it was the PMI company, the private mortgage insurance company. Mm-hmm. Because after I had the house built, originally we had a construction loan, and we converted to a fixed loan for the property. And I had not put down 20% to get PMI off the property. So the PMI property company looked at my assets and said, oh, you have too many assets. We're not going to let this go through. We're going to sue you instead. So that's exactly what happened. Got sued by the PMI company. And even though, this process went on for like 4 or 5 years, and we ended up losing. So we had to pay out a good amount of money. And I finally got a free and clear judgment in 2001.
Wow.
It was like, I'm done with all these crazy partners,
Wow.
And my husband, thank God, he's my best partner.
Wow. Yes. So how would you sum up all the 3 experiences that you had? And what advice would you give to all the viewers out there that are listening and want to get into some sort of single family? Like, what are your top three things that you would recommend?
Yeah. So I sum it up as my decade of demise. Let's just call it like that. But there were a lot of lessons. Number one, no matter, whether your partner is a guru or they have credentials as a real estate broker, or they're well connected, you still have to do your due diligence, right? You have to understand your partner's strengths and weaknesses. You have to uncover the potential shortcomings of a deal. If they're out of the country, as our Canadian partner was, you need to understand what the laws are. Like, due diligence is critical. Um, and we had wanted to be in real estate so bad that we were like originally acting on emotion instead of like really looking at the numbers and being financially responsible and having our strategy in place. So understanding the numbers is critical. And of course, having a financial reserve or a backup is key, because so many things happen that you can't even expect. So recently I talked about the 2 vacancies, but after the 2 vacancies, we needed a new roof on another house. We needed gutters on another house. And just yesterday, I got a notice that a hot water heater went. So, without a reserve or some form of credit to access, you could be put in a very bad position. And, finally, you want to run your real estate like a business. You have to monitor your investments regularly. You have to ask tough questions. You have to be able to ask tenants to leave if they're not up to snuff. So those are some of the valuable lessons. And of course, as I said earlier, it is much more expensive to hire an attorney after the fact than before.
So all of this was in single family.
Yeah.
So are you still going to buy single family, or have you made a switch over into multifamily?
Right now, I am moving toward multifamily. I have an investment that we're waiting to close, which is a 30 unit in Las Vegas. And I am really trying to educate myself more, though. I've been able to trade some time for opportunity to learn in this space, and that's been exciting for me because it is a team sport. And although there are partners in real estate, now I'm taking the time to understand the questions, what is their experience? What's their involvement in the deal? Are they putting money into the deal, or they just want you to put money in the deal? What are the risks of the deal? How compatible are we as partners? How are they going to manage the risks? So there's a lot more questions that I'm able to ask now based on my prior experience in Singapore.
That is so important. And I've heard so many horror stories. I think the most recent one was there needed to be a capital. They needed more capital, right? So they had to make a decision as a general partnership team. So those are the ones that are, actively managing the process, for those of viewers that don't know what that means. So they needed to make a decision. Should we go out to our passive investors that are also involved in this and ask for additional money? Because the GP team didn't have any liquidity, which means they didn't have any additional money. Maybe their money was in other multifamily investments or self-storage or something like that. So they had to go out to the LPs and, and try to get that money, the capital call, and so, you have to know, you have to know, you have to not be afraid to ask for their financial statement, their personal financial statement, right? And understand what goes into the number. So I'll be honest, when I first, put together a PFS, I did it wrong. Okay. Not knowing, but I did it wrong. Nobody told me how to go through a PFS. And so now it's been corrected. So we have the right net worth there. But asking those questions, how did you come up with this? What came into your PFS? How much is in your bank account? How many investments are you doing a year? Where's your money coming from? All that kind of stuff, because they can have money today.
Yeah.
If you need $100,000 tomorrow, they may not just live that way, right? They may just have everything out in investments and have no liquidity. So that's super important.
Right. And you want to look for people that are conservative underwriters, plan to have a reserve. And a lot of the multifamily now are having stabilization periods from 6 months to a year because they want to ensure that they have that capital reserve before any investors get paid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Better safe than sorry, right? I'd rather not pay a distribution, in year one, but make sure I reach that equity multiple at the end when we sell it.
Right? That's right.
Or just delay the cash distributions. Wow. So what kept you, I know we're kind of up on 35 minutes already. Isn't that crazy, Donna?
Yeah.
So what kept you motivated to keep moving forward? Because I'll tell you, after those 3 stories, I would have thrown in the towel and say, I'm just staying at my W-2. So like, what's your why? And why do you keep staying in the industry?
Yeah, thanks for this question. I've always had a passion for real estate, and I believe that there still are opportunities. So again, even though our cash flow from month to month is a little sketchy, there's still value in the equity that we built up in our properties. So it's a long-term game that we're playing. And, it's going to help us provide financial freedom in our retirement and, for our children. And so that's what motivates me. It's like, and the other thing is, I really, really, really like the people in real estate. There's so many wonderful people here, yourself included. We just hit it off like great at the book launch. And
I love the people, and I love the people in multifamily a little bit more than on the residential side. Mm-hmm. I feel like the knowledge set of residential versus commercial is on a totally different spectrum, right? Why do you buy a single family home for yourself? You need a place to live.
Right.
It is about emotion sometimes. It could be about the numbers, but you just need to know, can you afford the mortgage payment? And you may not think about the expenses, but you probably can get by, right? But on the multifamily side, it's all about the numbers. There's no emotions in there. You better know each one of those numbers and what went into those numbers. So very different, set of qualities that like a residential realtor has versus like a commercial realtor or commercial investor. So I like the commercial side better. I feel just like everybody's a little bit more knowledgeable, but there's some snakes in this industry as well. So doing that due diligence, Donna, like you said, know who you're getting into bed with. Right. And I like to use that analogy because if you're in bed with the wrong person, you need to be, you're staying tied with them for 3 to 5 years, or in your case, even longer than that. Right. So know who, take the time to get to know who your partners are, right. Continue to have conversations, like with me, and get to really know who's Jackie and Melvin. Right. Mm-hmm. Because you don't really know a person. You may meet them at an event. You may, maybe check 1 or 2 times, but get to really know the core values of who you're dealing with. Because that, man, these 3 partners that you dealt with had no core values, or different ones than you had. Let's just put it that way.
That's such sound advice.
Wow.
But sometimes you have to go through the, pick out the thorns out of your fingers until you realize that.
Wow.
What the good things are. Yeah.
Yes. So we'll partner up one day, Donna. I'm trying to find some deals. So we'll get it together. But anyway, so I'm gonna ask one more question. What are your goals for 2024, or finishing out 2023 into 2024?
Okay, sure. So first of all, my husband and I, we run a monthly master class, which is geared toward aspiring real estate investors and early investors. So one of our goals is to help educate, I'll just say, newbie investors, so that they feel confident investing and they can avoid some of the costly mistakes that we made. The other
Awesome.
thing is to continue the education. Underwriting, it is all about the numbers, but it does take some time to really get good at it. So that's one of the things that we're focused on. And the third thing is to build out the team, right? Because multifamily is a team sport. So, understanding who's on your team, whether it's attorneys and CPAs and also, operators, people who can find the deals, who can put down the earnest money deposit, who can manage the asset, who can be your key principal, who can raise capital. So there's a lot of roles in multifamily, and really trying to understand the roles, understand where we fit in the best, and looking at the numbers is a big goal for 2024.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, Donna, if people want to talk to you more about your experiences or about, your podcast, how can they find you?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the easiest ways is on LinkedIn, but we do have a YouTube channel called youtube.com/the hookup with real estate, all one word. We also have a Facebook group. So facebook.com/groups with an S/hookup with real estate. So you can reach out any of those three ways.
Fantastic.
And if you get the book, all that information is in the book.
So viewers, go get the book.
Get the book.
That's awesome.
Read, especially if you're interested in real estate.
That's awesome. Well, Donna, I want to thank you for your time today. I hope you inspired our viewers to really get to know what they're doing before they jump into this. Set goals and number one, know who you're dealing with and make sure you vet them. That's the one important thing. And I'd like to rename your chapter to something like the strong woman who got through it. But anyways, well, thanks, Donna. I appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch for sure.
All right. I love spending time with you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.